While I wait for some rust to dissolve on my Philco 3862 radio chassis, I thought I'd take a closer look at this GE coaxial set I recently picked up. Especially because I now have a scanned copy of the factory service info. A fellow Video Karma member was kind enough to scan this and email it to me. In particular, it has instructions for removing the chassis from the cabinet and removing the picture tube. Remember, the picture tube in this set appears to have an open filament. So one, I want to more closely examine that picture tube and see if there's a snowball chance in hell that I could actually re-weld that filament, or maybe it's a bad solder connection on the socket or something like that. I also just got a little bit of info about this picture tube, 21ESP4. Apparently the next generation of this GE console or GE chassis type used this picture tube. It takes a little bit more high voltage and I think a little bit more G3 voltage, but may work out okay. Really only one way to find out, I think. That's to try it. But first, I want to get this chassis out. Apparently it's fairly simple. Pull the knobs off, take the back off the set and remove 4 or 5 bolts and the whole chassis should come out. And the picture tube remains mounted to the cabinet. There's a metal strap holding that in. So once I get the chassis out, it should expose the whole picture tube and then I can take that out fairly easily, I hope. I removed the 5 bolts and the chassis seems loose, so I think we're good to go. Sliding out. It's actually some nice rails that this chassis sits on that make this removal pretty easy. I'm just going to be very careful with this bit. Set that down inside the chassis. Should be okay. And here we go. Great tuner. There's a tube shield and the tuner hung up on the cabinet. There we go. Alright, that is actually not too bad. A little heavy because of the power transformer, but it is very self-contained. Set that down here, and now I can examine the CRT more closely. Before I check out that burned out filament, this is something I've been itching to try, which is to fire up this set with my little 8-inch test CRT. This is a universal 110 degree bench test picture tube. This one in particular was made by GE. It's got an adapter that fits perfectly with this set. So these are meant for working on a set on the bench. You don't have to have that gigantic 21-inch picture tube in your way. And these are pretty rugged and can work on a range of voltages without burning out. So I've got that all hooked up with the yoke and high voltage and so on. And I've got a little test speaker set up. I've got my trusty dog antenna. So let's fire this up. Let's see what happens. Alright, CRT filament's glowing. That's a good sign. I don't think the CRT is lit up though.
Rumor has it they're very competitive and only losing. So don't be a dick about it because they still have to perform. Find out how to play at Q87.
So the brightness up a bit.
Presenting the official list of things your husband will never buy. 100 powdered wigs, 5 electrolysis appointments.
That's what the volume turned all the way down. I think there's something wrong with the volume control.
He could buy anything. Help protect you and your family from identity theft.
I'm not sure where the horizontal and vertical hold are on this set.
Well, that must be vertical hold. Your teenage son will never buy. Elective dental surgery. spray tan equipment, seahorse caviar, whimsical ice cube trays, handcrafted crystal chandeliers. But if your teenage son's identity is stolen, he could buy anything. Help protect you and your family from identity theft with Fifth Third Identity Alert Premium. To learn more, stop by your nearest Fifth Third banking center or visit 53.com/ID Alert. Fifth Third Bank.
Not sure what horizontal hold is. I think it might be a control on the back somewhere.
Premium are provided by Fifth Third's vendor Affinity Benefits Group. Hotwire.com radio.
I'll turn this off for a bit while I poke around and see where that horizontal hold control is. Okay, I think I figured out what the horizontal hold is. It's a control on the back of the set. I see we got a lock with 3 images. So really, horizontal lock frequency is 3 times what it should be. Now we have 2 images. And ideally, somewhere we get. Alright. Cool. It's as low as I can get the volume to go, so sorry, I'm kind of having to yell into the microphone. Guess you can just disconnect the speaker. Alright, so, hey, you know, I think it's all original components and this set's running fairly well. Although I do kind of smell that distinctive smell of roasting vintage electronics. So I'm not too keen on running this for too long. In fact, I'm going to turn it off right now. And here are the 2 electrolytics I was trying to find earlier. And I wonder if these are getting warm. That one's cold. The other one's got some cardboard over it. Can't quite tell. But a little leery of running this set too long on the original caps. But yeah, so very, very promising. Now I just got to find a full-size picture tube that actually works properly. Now I've hooked up an over-the-air digital converter box, so let's see if we can pick up some actual programming. Here's that channel 6 station we were just listening to. Alright, there's the converter box. Well, that's a very respectable picture. A little bit of a buzz. But otherwise... It's adjusting the brightness and contrast.
Clara, I think perhaps I'd better be the one to break the news to Mother.
So hey, if this scales up to the full-size picture, I think this TV is going to work quite nicely.
That's why I want to be the one to pick the right time and the right place to tell her. Now, do you...
Okay, so I'm back to the old picture tube. I cleaned off the neck, and it looks like it's seeing quite a bit of use. But I can't really tell if it's lost its vacuum or not. So what I'm going to try next, based on a suggestion I got a video camera, was to hook a sensitive ohm meter up across the filament terminals, and then tap the neck. And see when I tap the neck if I get a meter deflection. If I do, then there's a chance that those broken filament leads are making intermittent contact and they can possibly be welded back together. Alright, so right now I've got my clip leads connected together, just separated them, and got the resistance on infinity. Crank the sensitivity up, go to the 1 meg scale. And I'm hooking up the leads for right now. And still on infinity, not surprisingly. Now I'm tapping the neck. Pretty much like I suspected. Getting no needle deflection whatsoever. Just don't want to hit it too hard or I could shatter the neck, which would be a very, very bad thing. Alright, well. I think what I'm going to go ahead and do now is unmount the old picture tube. It's got a metal collar going around it. I think there's one big bolt in each corner. Take those out and the whole thing comes out as a big metal strap around the picture tube. And to install a new one, I'll have to loosen it up, take this one out of the band, put the new one in, and remount it into the set. Although, you know, it just occurred to me, before I do that, why go to all that much trouble? Why don't I take that 21ESP4 and try to prop it up on my workbench and hook it up to the set while it's out of the cabinet and see if I can get it to work. Okay, I've got this 21ESP4 hooked up. It's a little precarious, so I'm going to be careful around it. Also, the Aquadag coating is not grounded, but I think that'll be okay. There's a little noise in the high voltage line. It's not a big deal. It's going to work. You should see a glow come out of it. So, turning on set now. Helps if I plug the set back in. Alright, now turn this on. CRT is lighting up. I should mention too that there are actually a couple fuses in this set. There's a fuse on the main primary of the transformer, and there's a fuse.
We can get dates too and go to the Copacabana.
Hey, alright.
No, that's not very good. Hey, you said dates?
Alright.
That's the most sensational idea yet.
Obviously the yoke is not
And we owe it
rotated
to
right.
ourselves. We can get...
I'll disconnect the speaker again. It's deafening volume. Alright, if I adjust brightness. So I was concerned that because the voltage ratings weren't quite right. So maybe this isn't working optimally. Oops. There's a vertical hole. Come on. So maybe, you know, it's the brightness and contrast aren't quite right. Well, looks pretty good to me. See, I would think this tube is basically new old stock. I got the brightness all the way up. I would think it will be brighter than this optimally, but it's still got a long way to go. I don't know that the high voltage is as high as it should be. I don't know that the set's working optimally. Although I do know this: the specs for this picture tube. The max high voltage on this is about 2,000 volts higher than the original for this set. So, in other words, this might be running a little bit lower than it would be optimally. But hey, it's working. These picture tubes don't grow on trees, so I'm quite happy that it's even working this well. I did a little bit of tweaking on the yoke and got the picture looking better. But now I've noticed that if I turn the brightness up, or the contrast, I get a lot of buzzing in the audio. So still have some work to do for sure. And if you see this crud here, that's just some adhesive on the front of the CRT that can be cleaned off. This is definitely promising looking. Well, that's going to be it for tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed this next installment in the GE coaxial restoration saga.